everybody. This is Mel Allen. Coming up on This Week in Baseball, it's first place cheer for Oakland as Dave Stewart pitches the A's to the best record in the majors. Plus, a chat with Dave Winfield.
I get my defense, I get my counter punches, and I get my offense. And then I get in good shape, and then you bring your lawyers and your accountants and your PR people.
And our continuing series on 1968 takes us to Cubs legend Ferguson Jenkins. All that and more coming up straight away on This Week in Baseball. Lonely at the top? Not the Oakland A's, who won 20 of their first 27, including 10 in a row to post the best record in the majors. That the A's have been coming together and coming on strong is due in large measure to one of their stronger points, Dave Stewart. Now the ace of the staff, Stewart had been much traded, often juggled from reliever to starter, and finally much obliged to Oakland for picking him up during the 1986 season.
What I realized when I was released is that I love the game, but maybe I love the game too much. You know, you can love something too much where you just become obsessed with it and you don't think that you can do without it. Well, being out of it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I got a chance to think about the other things that I could do, and it really has helped me to appreciate baseball a little bit more. When I come out now, not that I didn't before, but I play hard every day, and it's just more fun. It's more enjoyable.
Last year, a 20-game winner and in the running for the Cy Young Award. So far this season, he set an Oakland record by winning his first 7 starts.
I developed another pitch. I picked up a forkball, which gave me something off speed from the fastball and then the slider. And Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan came in and they showed a little confidence in me and gave me the ball on a more consistent basis than I've ever been given the ball. And going back to Oakland, which is where I'm from, has done a lot for me, too.
Stewart may be settled back home in Oakland, but he's not content to settle with last year's success. As he says, 120-win season doesn't make a career.
I won 20 games, but it could be the last time I win 20 games, or I could win 20 games again, so I don't want to stick my chest out too far before I've really accomplished something. I know it's something that a lot of players haven't been able to do, but the only person that you disappoint most is yourself. I've learned to relax. I've learned to be comfortable with who I am and what I'm doing, and it's just been a happier time.
For the Tigers to get off to a good start, the youth has to come through once again and be successful, while the veterans on the club must help pick us up when we falter.
What Mike's really trying to say is that we've got a great supply of Geritol around our clubhouse and enough batteries charged to stimulate all the pacemakers, and the Tigers will be there in '88.
True, with the cast of 30-something, the Tigers aren't exactly the picture of youth, but in the case of last year's East Division winners, age has been a big asset and a bigger reason Detroit is moving into the pennant picture.
This Tiger team has, since I've joined it in 1985, has been a team that really never says die. It's made up of veterans. We're going to play you hard for 162. Score doesn't matter. I've never seen a man lay down or stop playing hard, and I think that stems, of course, from our manager, Sparky Anderson.
They know that that's the way I'll be, and they know how they'll be. I don't think that winning motivates us, and I don't think that's what does it here anymore. I think it's our attitude.
Talent-wise, I can't say we have more talent than any other team. I think there's quite a few teams in the game today that are better than us. But I don't think there's any team that really believes that they can go out and give 100% every day the way we can. And we just know how to pick each other up when we get in our, spells where we're not playing well or we're down mentally or something. We have a bunch of guys that are able to sense this and pick each other up.
Frank Tanana's career got a huge pick-me-up when he came to the Tigers in 1985. He may have lost his fastball, but with a whole lot of savvy, he won 15 games last year. And this season, Frank jumped out to a 5-1 start.
When you throw like I throw, and that is, of course, you know, with finesse, not a blazing fastball anymore, every year, you know, I've been written off now for 8 years. And so I'm sure there'll be some that are going to write me off right now, but I've had to learn how to change speeds and still keep that good concentration and control. It can be done. You know, it just takes a lot of perseverance.
Although Alan Trammell finished second to George Bell for the league's most valuable player last year and led the Tigers all season, he takes his leadership role in stride.
I'm just one of many players that we need to have produce, and it's never been a one-man show around here, and it never will be. We need the contributions from top to bottom in our lineup, and the way I describe myself is that I'm probably not exceptional in any one area, but I think I'm good in all areas, and I think when you add all those things up, then you find out what type of player I really am.
It's pretty clear what type of player Dave Winfield is. In April, he tied a major league record by driving in 29 runs. A good bet to post 100 RBIs for the 6th time in 7 years. Still thriving at age 36, Winfield has taken on a unique perspective on the game.
To get hits, to score runs, to do things, to make catches, that's what it's all about. You don't just come out here just to put in your time, not at all. You try to be the best you can. I prepare like a boxer. I get my defense, I get my counter punches, and I get my offense. And then I get in good shape, and then you bring your lawyers and your accountants and your PR people, and then sooner or later you're ready to play.
Winfield was ready to play with the Padres right out of college in 1973. 7 years later, he moved on to New York and a celebrated career which has also featured Dave Winfield, the philanthropist, the author, the businessman.
The investment side of the business of baseball. When in the stock market, right when it hit bottom, it hit its nadir. And that's back in 73. Tremendous bear market. Didn't matter. I had Northwest Airlines control data, got kicked in the butt for a couple of months, and lost about 30% of a bonus. I was mad. But you learn. I bounced back.
This logo is for thumbs down to drugs and thumbs up with life. Remember that. Let's see you do it one time.
Thumbs down for drugs, thumbs up for life.
All right.
Winfield's commitment to community work is nothing new. In San Diego, he started a program that provided free tickets to disadvantaged kids, which led to the formation of the Winfield Foundation, which also takes up the cause against drugs. For the 11-time All-Star, life in the majors hasn't been all baseball.
I've had an interesting career thus far, so there's always something unique there. I probably hold back 70% of what needs to be said because you can't say everything that you'd like to. But most things in baseball stay the same. Just faces, names, and the year changes. All right. Put the check in the mail. See you later.
Time now for this week's quiz, brought to you by Chevrolet. The Cubs' Andre Dawson recently hit 2 homers in the game for the 25th time in his career. What National Leaguer has done it the most? What made Pete Rose go from calm to calamitous? Just watch. The Mets have a runner on second. Mookie Wilson up, game tied, top of the 9th. 2 out. Wilson hits a routine grounder. The throw pulls Sasaki off the bag, but the safe call comes late. Meanwhile, Howard Johnson scores. Rose cries unfair. The call was delayed. The Reds lost the game. Reds lost the argument. The Reds lost Rose for 30 days, unless he wins the appeal. Indeed, the Reds had a painful weekend when the streaking Mets came to town. One of the biggest headaches of all was New York's revitalized offense, which helped produce a 3-game sweep of Cincinnati.
Hernandez with a base hit to left field. Tuffle rounding third. Here's the throw by Daniels. Safe. And what a big base hit by Keith Hernandez. Deep to right. Back is O'Neill, and this ball is out of here. A 2-run homer for Darryl Strawberry. Strawberry.
Offense wasn't the only reason the Mets were rejoicing.
And hooray, hooray, the 1st of May, and Dwight Gooden is pitching today.
Not bad from the fellas in the booth, but even better stuff from Doc, who shut out the Reds on 4 hits.
He's made a vow that he's going to regain the form that he had in 1985 when he was the Cy Young Award winner at 24-4. So if there's one guy that I'd place a bet on for, and I'm not a betting man, I'd have to say Dwight Gooden's a strong candidate for the Cy Young Award this year.
Everything I do and every start that I have is compared to 85 or 84. I think it's unfair, and I'm getting tired of hearing about it. And every game I have good, even last year, if I pitch a good game, they'll say, well, you're back to old. I mean, they got to realize that, you know, the other team are professionals also, and hitters make adjustments, and just up to the pitchers to make adjustments also. But the season I had in 85 could be a career year.
Maybe, but watch out for 88. So far, a spotless 6-0 record for Doc, who left the limping Reds in need of a quick remedy. Next night, Ron Robinson against the Expos almost had the perfect cure for the Reds when he came within 1 strike of a perfect game.
Fly ball, there's Davis. We're down to 1. Wallace Johnson, the only man that stands between perfection.
There's no game like this when it comes down to these magic moments.
So went Robinson's bid for the 10th perfect game of all time. He also lost the shutout, giving up a 2-run homer before giving way to the Reds' bullpen, which saved the win. Still, not bad for a pitcher who had arm surgery 7 months earlier. Meanwhile, in Baltimore, the Orioles' homecoming featured a good luck charm. A near full house at Memorial Stadium and an outpouring of affection from the fans. That Baltimore had won just once in its first 24 games didn't discourage the hometown backers, or for that matter, Cal Ripken, who stayed hot, touching up Texas pitching for a double and a homer as Oriole bats came alive against the Rangers. Jake Tibbs also helped turn the tide. Just called up from the minors, he pulled out a few tricks against Texas, and for a change, the other team was in a fix. Finally, the Orioles called on reliever Doug Sisk to close out Baltimore's first win at home and second of the season.
Ripken will end the game when he throws this one to Murray. And the Orioles beat the Rangers 9-4.
Oh, how sweet it is to be back home. Time now to open the notebook for this week in baseball's TWIB notes from around the majors. The Phillies' Mike Schmidt keeps climbing up the home run ranks. Recently, he hit one out against Houston for home run number 4 of the season and career number 534, tying Schmidt with Jimmy Fox for 8th on the all-time list. The Cardinals' John Tudor seems hale and hearty once again. Recently off the disabled list, Tudor was working on a no-hitter against the Dodgers through 6 innings. But given his still tender shoulder, a cautious Whitey Herzog lifted Tudor and brought in reliever Scott Terry. Though he preserved the shutout, Terry lost the no-hitter in the 7th inning, leaving Tudor to settle for a combined 1-hitter. Time now for the answer to this week's quiz, brought to you by Chevrolet. The Giants' Willie Mays hit 2 or more homers in the game 63 times, most ever by a National Leaguer. And now, folks, step right this way. At your service, tasty treats of lively leather served up to perfection. Starting with Atlanta's Dale Murphy, Jeffrey Leonard of San Francisco, Milwaukee's Rob Deere, the Cardinals' Willie McGee, Jim Gantner, a brewer out of the blue, Bo Jackson, Kansas City, Andres Galarraga, Montreal, The Yankees, Mike Pagliarulo. New York Mets rookie, Kevin Elster. Baltimore's Billy Ripken. San Francisco's Will Clark. New York Mets, Tim Teufel. Montreal rookie, Johnny Paredes. Back to Mike Pagliarulo, Yankees. Teammate, Claudell Washington. And finally, Gary Pettis, Detroit. Ah, splendor in the outfield grass.
I shall not see, and I will not accept.
I have a dream that one day... You, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
Those words rang out 20 years ago in 1968, a time of turmoil and uncertainty. While America was in constant crisis that year, many Americans found comfort in the national pastime. Baseball didn't cure the country's ills, but it did offer an escape. And as we continue our look back to baseball 1968, we're joined again by rock and roll musician and purveyor of 60s culture, John Fogerty.
Thanks, Mel. In the summer of 1968, the city of Chicago was in upheaval as protesters at the Democratic Convention turned Mayor Daley's smooth-running machine into a national spectacle. Across town, in a much quieter way, Cubs pitcher Ferguson Jenkins was taking part in a protest of a different sort.
I went down and I talked to him about getting a tattoo on my arm, and he said that I want anything large or, you know, picturesque, or would I like a girl or a panther or a knife, and I thought maybe a cross with a flower. And I thought something biblical would go very nice with it, so I put trust in God on it.
By 1968, the one thing baseball fans could put their trust in was that Ferguson Jenkins would win 20 games. Beyond that, America presented a world of uncertainty and confusion. Anti-war demonstrations and race riots may not have sent a jolt to the national pastime, but they did have an impact.
You can't be an individual that just goes back and forth to the ballpark and not know what civically goes on in the public eye. And I've seen a lot of things happen for both races, black and white. But it opened your eyes because it was there. It was right in front of you. You've seen it in the newspaper. You've seen it on the street. And I think it was a learning experience.
Turn on, Ferg. Turn it, baby. You better than he are. Come on. All right. Now, I like it. All right, 2 and 2 on him there. Come on, right here. Oh, me.
It was Jenkins' remarkable control that in 1967 helped launch a string of 6 consecutive 20-win seasons. All that despite pitching in the tiny confines of Wrigley Field, where hitters were king.
The rule of thumb was to do a lot of the correct things on the field. Think about the game, know your craft, and execute, and minimize your mistakes. And I know that I played in a small ballpark, so the environment was a factor that if you were a fly ball type pitcher, you give up a lot of runs. And I was more of a sinker ball, down in the strike zone pitcher. You had to think a lot. And I think that I learned early in my career that throwing the ball hard didn't always win ball games for you. Knowing the hitters that you played against, and to throw strikes. And I influenced or intimidated hitters by throwing more strikes and throwing at people. And you had to take your position to heart because you couldn't go out there lollygagging, trying to get people out because there was too many named good ball players in the National League at the time.
For 8-9 months, you're doing enough with baseball. You can't get away from it. It's heavy after a while. You get bored. And we're not playing that well right now, and it's kind of boring.
Though Jenkins would win 284 games in 19 years, he would never play on a championship team. During his 9 seasons in Chicago, the Cubs would come close a couple of times. But in the end, the only success Jenkins knew was his own.
I would have probably pitched my type of ball game, had to play with the Yankees or with the Cardinals or the Giants. It really didn't matter what the color of the uniform was, but in Chicago, there was a kind of respect there that you had for the city, the team, the organization. And I tried to win as many games as I could, year after year. And I think that the number one aspiration that everybody wants in sports is to be successful and to make a name for yourself. And playing in a Cub uniform, we didn't have the pinstripes of the Yankees, but we had the pinstripe of the Cubs.
Best of all, the Cubs had Ferguson Jenkins. 1968 was a year of turmoil. Most of all, it was a time of change. Thanks for joining us for a special look back. For This Week in Baseball, I'm John Fogerty.
Thanks to you, John. And now our Player of the Week, brought to you by Old Spice. This week, a hearty salute to the Baltimore fans for their perseverance and unswerving loyalty during the Orioles' recent record losing streak.
Like I say, win or lose, they're our team.
You still got to support the local team. I mean, you can't just let them go because they're floundering.
I never was a big Oriole fan until they became big losers, and now I am.
Keep the spirits up, Warriors, and don't let it down. Don't let me down, anyway. Okay.
On This Week in Baseball, we'll feature scenes like this. Major leaguers jogging their memories to reveal their most embarrassing moments on the field of play. Be with us.
That's all for now, folks. See you next week on This Week in Baseball.
Go for the action tomorrow afternoon at 4 when the Detroit Tigers take on the Seattle Mariners live from the Kingdome. And women love him. Men want to be like him. He's everyone's Hawaiian hero. See Magnum save the day during a special week starting Monday right here on Channel 4.